President Trump is questioning the integrity of the way classified documents found at Mar-a-Lago in 2022 were handled by the FBI. His lawyers say in a court filing late this afternoon they have concerns with how exactly the Bureau organized the documents. Late last week, Special Counsel Jack Smith indicated agents ran out of classified cover sheets using handwritten cover sheets instead. The case is still on the calendar to begin May 20th, but the judge is expected any day to move it back. We'll follow that.
Corporate accounts payable, Nina speaking.
Hello, Peter. What's happening? We have sort of a problem here. Yeah, you apparently didn't put one of the new cover sheets on the Trump classified documents.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about that. I forgot.
Yeah. You see, we're putting the cover sheets on all Trump documents before they go out. Did you see the memo about this?
Yeah, I have the memo right here. I just, forgot.
Yeah. If you could just go ahead and make sure you do that from now on, that would be great. And, I'll go ahead and make sure you get another copy of that memo. Okay?
Yeah, no, I have the memo. I've got it. It's right.
Hello, Phil.
That's an all-timer. I love Office Space. If you've never seen that comedy, it's one of the greatest comedies ever written. That's an iconic scene, and it's perfectly aligned with today's show. Today is Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. New documents expose the DOJ's doctored crime scene photos at Mar-a-Lago. This is a big one, baby. Revealed the Trump hush money prosecutor was paid $12,000 by the DNC for political consulting. Oh, baby. And the person doing all of the bombshell reporting on this issue, Julie Kelly, joins the show today. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. So we live inside of a stressful universe here, obviously, on the show. There is quite a bit of things happening, and also I've got three little ones that tend to keep you up at night. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to make sure that you have the energy in the morning to continue the fight. The people who give us the energy is Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee are the people who keep us going to fight the communists, the Marxists, and the people who will rig and destroy, of course, all that it means to be an American. And we'll cover all of it today on the show because they are doing their best to destroy the singular thing that you can count on, which is justice, the American way, and a level playing field to defend yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing an unbelievable barrage from the Marxists and the communists, and you must stay prepared. Drink Blackout Coffee with me. They are family-owned. They love this country, and they will pump your veins full of caffeine just like they do mine every single morning so that we can pump truth out there onto the great wide world wide web. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Use the coupon code Benny for 20% off your first order. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Be awake, not woke. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump is in court again right now. It is Groundhog Day. Yes, it is Groundhog Day. Again, Donald Trump is in court. Donald Trump is going to be facing Stormy Daniels on the stand today. Now, obviously, this is breaking news. We have some really unbelievable news from the documents case, but Stormy Daniels versus Donald Trump today on the stand. So expect this to be heating up in a very interesting way. Now, first and foremost, Stormy Daniels has signed a letter that said that all of the allegations that she made up against Trump were fake. Michael Cohen has signed a letter saying that Donald Trump and his campaign didn't direct him to do anything, that he himself was the one who initiated the payment. What was the payment? Does that mean guilt? No. You have to understand celebrity politics and celebrity legalities. I don't like it, but there's something called a nuisance lawsuit. And if, I don't know, Will Smith, Tom Cruise, I could pick one. I don't really know Hollywood stars anymore these days. I don't think there are any new Hollywood stars. But if somebody, if Tom Cruise is shopping and his shopping cart hits your shopping cart, then you sue him for $20 million. And then you settle for $20,000 and it's a nuisance lawsuit and goes away. Okay? Tom Cruise doesn't want the headline and has the money, has the cash to spare. It's called a nuisance lawsuit. That's exactly what this was. This is common. It shouldn't be, but it is common for big-time celebrities and very wealthy people like billionaires like Donald Trump. Donald Trump has most likely, and I don't like the fact that this is true, but Donald Trump has most likely settled thousands of these. I don't know, hundreds of these. This is just the way it works when you're rich and when you're famous and when you're a celebrity. And so this is what is on trial in New York. They're saying that this constitutes a campaign finance violation. even though they do not have jurisdiction over campaign finance, even though the FEC that's supposed to police these things said there's no case here, even though the Biden DOJ said there's no case here, Joe Biden actually installed a DNC-paid apparatchik named Colangelo from the DOJ to prosecute this case because Alvin Bragg is too big of a slob to do it himself. And so here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump at the courtroom again this morning. We, of course, will always play Donald Trump's comments without interrupting him, without inserting ourselves, or obviously like trying to couch it, right, the way that the corporate media does. The corporate media is not allowed to play Donald Trump's comments live. So we view it as our obligation to play you what he says in front of the court. So this is what Donald Trump said in front of the court today.
Are you a victim of extortion?
The country is on fire. There are protests all over the country. I've never seen anything like this. Many graduation ceremonies are being canceled. They canceled, as you know, in Colombia. They're canceling a lot of them. And we have a president that just refuses to talk because he can't talk. You know that, and so does everyone else. Some of the statements made about this witch hunt on CNN, fake news CNN, Michael Moore said the proof of falsifying records has not been accomplished. On Good Morning America, they said, we heard that expense payments to lawyers are legal expenses. You pay a lawyer expense payments. We didn't put it down as construction costs, the purchase of sheetrock, the electrical cost. The legal expense that we paid was put down as legal expense. There's nothing else you could say. You don't have to put down anything, I guess. But we put down legal expense was legal expense. Is that a correct statement, Mr. Attorney? And everyone's saying, oh, gee, that's the fraud. That's what they're trying to get us on. The fact that we call a legal expense. They marked it down in the books. The check was signed. And the other thing, this was approved by all agencies. Everybody saw this. There was nothing being hidden at all. That's what they're all writing now. There's been nothing hidden. And it went through agencies, and I guess it went through the IRS also. It went through IRS. It went through the FEC. It went through everything. Also, NBC Today showed the challenges that there is no smoking gun, no email or tape to prove the president's intent. They don't have a way to prove that. That's NBC Today show. And then Fox News, Katie Cherkasky, said that the gag order is unconstitutional, which of course it is. The gag order is unconstitutional. So with all that's going on, they have no case. Every single legal scholar that I see, I mean, maybe there's somebody out there, some whack job, but for virtually everyone that I've seen has said there's absolutely no case. It's a case that shouldn't have been brought. The previous DA wouldn't bring it. Bragg didn't want to bring it, and he brought it because I'm running in number one place. This all comes out of the White House and crooked Joe Biden. This comes from the White House, and it's all Biden because it's an attack on his political opponent. That hasn't happened in this country. It does happen in third world countries, but it hasn't happened in this country, and it's a shame. And the trial is a very unfair trial. It's a very, very unfair trial. The good news is they have nothing. Thank you.
Why is it unfair?
Mr. President, do you plan on testifying?
The good news is they have nothing. These are the Biden trials. I really, really like the framing of the argument here, and I think it's working with the American people. We've obviously showed you some of the polls show that Donald Trump is doing better than he's ever done in his political life. Donald Trump is doing better than he's ever done in his entire political career, polling in 2016, polling in 2020, and now polling in 2024. This is backfiring. It's backfiring horrendously, and the more that people actually look into this, the more Stalinistic it gets. Now, my argument here is that this is Stalin-esque. That Joseph Stalin, who was an illegitimate leader of the Soviet Union, who seized power out of total and complete brutality and bloodlust, and who immediately began trials of all of his political enemies. And this is how you just call it Stalinist, okay? So it's not Biden trials. These are this is Stalinist tactics. You need to start ratcheting up the correct language here. These are tactics in order to silence your political enemy, and of course, in order to do that, you're gonna have to have a rigged court like Stalin did. You're gonna have to have judges that knew that their families would be disappeared if they dared rule against Stalin. This is how you were able to purge all of the political adversaries for Joseph Stalin in the Soviet Union, including the people who would have been the rightful heir to camp when Lenin died. Right? So these are show trials, and we have the confirmation to prove that. Do you know that the prosecutor, Matthew Colangelo, was paid by the DNC? This is the Biden prosecutor that they moved over from the DOJ to run this sham operation because they found somebody slovenly, Alvin Bragg. They found someone sloppy enough to do this. Slovenly enough, dumb enough to actually bring this prosecution. Do you know that this person was paid $12,000 by the DNC for political consulting? Trump hush money prosecutor paid $12,000 by the DNC. How much more? What more do you need? What more do you need? We were doing a debate show with Piers Morgan, and I asked Destiny, who was leftist on that show, like, would you be okay with Joe Biden being tried in a Trump plus 50 district? There are plenty of them here in Florida. Would you be okay with that? Would you be okay if the judge was a Trump donor? Yeah, but Joe Biden did like an entire business scam here in Florida. He was prosecuted for it. His brother was prosecuted for fraud here in Florida. They ended up being able, just classic Biden privilege, they ended up being able to, beat the rap, okay, get protected, and I think pay a fine. But the Bidens committed fraud here in Florida. They committed crimes here in Florida. There are a lot of very red counties here in Florida. Let's find one with plus 50 Donald Trump voters. So you have a jury pool that are Donald Trump supporters. Now let's find a judge who donated to Donald Trump. Now let's put a prosecutor that was paid for by the RNC in the position. Would you be okay with that? Do you think the leftist media would be like, it's just, they're wiping a tear from their eye. It's just the beauty of the judicial system. It's just the beauty of justice. Justice. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think they'd burn the nation to the ground. Okay? I think they'd make the Summer of Love look like an appetizer course. I think they'd actually burn the country to the ground before they'd allow something like that to happen. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Let's read the article. The New York prosecutor, New York City hush money case against Donald Trump, was previously hired as political consulting by the Democrat National Committee. The revelations regarding Matthew Colangelo raises concerns over the perceived politicization of multiple cases against Donald Trump. Colangelo, according to Fox News Digital, Federal Election Commission records, was paid $12,000 by the DNC in 2018. That wasn't even long ago. This is while Trump was president, of course. Distributed from DNC Services Corp, Democrat National Committee. The description listed on the FEC was purposes for the attorney for political consulting. So this jackwagon is a political consultant. Klein, will we be able to scroll through the article? Just so I want to show people this. I want to show you guys this guy's mug. Look at this guy. This is the guy. This is the guy named Matthew Colangelo. They hate it when you actually name these people. They hate it when their faces are up on screen. This is Matthew Colangelo. This guy was working at the DOJ. And then Biden moved him out of the DOJ over into Alvin Bragg's office because Alvin Bragg is too big of a slob and too low IQ to actually prosecute this thing. They moved him over as a specific DNC paid apparatchik to go after Donald Trump. The prosecutor left a senior role at the Biden Justice Department to join Bragg's office on December 2022. Listen, we've had Mike Davis on the show like a million times. These are not the kind of moves that you make. Okay, let's just say, for sake of argument, like you don't move from the NFL. Like you're not like a player in the NFL in the big leagues, and then you move down into the Canadian Football League like for fun. You don't do that. You don't like take demotions. This is against human nature. This guy went from the federal DOJ as a top prosecutor in a senior role to go work for Alvin flipping Bragg. What do you think's going on here? No, you don't do that. You don't. You don't leave Hollywood for Bollywood. You don't take demotions. You don't leave like Michelin star restaurants to go like serve fries at Chick-fil-A. Nope. No hate. No hate on Chick-fil-A. No hate. Okay? But those aren't moves that you make. You're not a chef in a Michelin star restaurant. You're not the top of your game. And then you decide, you know what? Burger King for me today. I'm going to go flip at Burger King. Those are not moves that people make. It's not logical. It's illogical. But so it obviously reinforces the scam here. I mean, these are absolutely just totally. I mean, the brazenness of this is unbelievably evil. Donald Trump has said, and Tucker Carlson has said previously, it was a very interesting interview, Tucker Carlson on Joe Rogan, and Tucker Carlson said, don't vote for somebody who's not willing to go to jail for you. Don't vote for somebody who's not willing to die for his cause. This is how America was created. America was created by dangerous men willing to die for a cause. This is the whole reason why we inherited this country. We are deeply thankful for those men. We are deeply thankful, obviously, for the patriots throughout history that have been willing to die, and many of them did die for the cause. American founders, like half the people who signed the Declaration of Independence, like either died in jail, were killed during the Revolutionary War, were left destitute. British took everything. In show trials, right? Same thing. Okay? Don't vote for people who aren't willing to die for a cause. Donald Trump, yesterday, I will go to jail. Obviously, Donald Trump gets a chance to speak to the cameras. Our show goes live at a specific time, so we're not able to cover everything that Trump says from the courthouse. Here we go. From yesterday, we weren't live during this time. Donald Trump, I will go to jail. Watch.
Because they all want to keep me off the campaign trail. That's all this is about. This is about election interference. How do we stop it? And it's a disgrace. And then you have the other thing that maybe is even more disgraceful is the gag order, where I can't basically, I have to watch every word I tell you people. You ask me a question, a simple question, I'd like to give it, but I can't talk about it. Because this judge has given me a gag order and said you'll go to jail if you violate it. And frankly, you know what? Our Constitution is much more important than jail. It's not even close. I'll do that sacrifice any day. But what's happening here is a disgrace, and the appellate courts ought to get involved.
So wait a second. When was the last time you heard a president say, our Constitution is more important than me going to jail? How inspiring is that? That is the single most inspiring thing I've heard a politician say in my lifetime. Every single highfalutin speech from Barack Obama with the pillars behind him and the Hollywood lighting and the stadiums, nothing compares to our Constitution is more important. I will go to jail for the Constitution. What a moment we're living in. We should take heart, take a moment and appreciate what we are living through. Donald Trump is a hero. He is a hero. Just off the top of the head, a couple of constitutional violations. All right, just off the top of the head. Okay, they're banning Donald Trump from speaking. Okay, they're stopping him from speaking. They're stopping him from campaigning. They're limiting, obviously, his capacity to run for federal elected office via the courts, and they are ensuring that the weaponization of our judicial system violates all of his rights. There are massive, critical, unconstitutional violations going on right now. Don't vote for somebody who's not willing to die for a cause, who's not willing to go to jail for a cause. Just like on its face, we haven't even gotten to the documents that they meddled with, tampered with, the evidence that they presumably planted at Mar-a-Lago. Oh, baby, we're going to get there. Here's Alina Habba responding. This is Donald Trump's lawyer, of course, responding to Trump declaring he shall and will be happy to go to jail.
We've seen it time and time again, as you're seeing with the comments that you made. We've got witnesses that are allowed to talk and go on MSNBC or MSDNC, as my client likes to call it, CNN, and talk about my client, talk about this case, but for some reason he can't talk. That doesn't make any sense. And then you layer that with a judge who has clear ambitions and political motivations. He's threatening to throw a former president, and as he acknowledged, most importantly today in the courtroom while I was there, this is probably going to be the future president. And for somebody who's left-wing to say that was shocking. But he did, and he recognized it and then threatened to put him in jail for speaking. He didn't even speak, frankly, Sean. He reposted things that other people said, and that in itself he called contempt. We are looking at a serious dual system of justice. We are in a state of crisis when it comes to our judicial system. This is election interference so that he cannot campaign because Biden cannot win if he doesn't hold him in court.
You've all read the First Amendment. You all know the First Amendment. Freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom to petition your government of your grievances, freedom of religion, which is actually first. First Amendment is all about freedom of speech. Actually, the first thing listed is freedom of religion. freedom to walk out your faith, okay, and practice your faith. It is actually the creation of America presumably wouldn't have even happened without religious persecution. What kind of religious persecution? Christian persecution, actually, in Europe. The persecution of Christians, the persecution of certain denominations, and Christians wishing to act out and live out their faith. And all other rights, and actually the American justice system is actually cornerstoned upon the Christian faith. That's what these godless monsters here are trying to take out somebody who actually believes in those cornerstones, actually believes in those tenets. Laura Trump, who is the co-chair of the RNC, obviously Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, had some very spicy reaction to Trump saying, I'm going to jail. Put me in jail. I demand to be put in jail. You're going to come after my free speech? You're going to come after my First Amendment? And there's like 5 First Amendment violations at least in this.
We have to take this very seriously. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. They think that it's just about going after Donald Trump. It may be Donald Trump today sitting in that courtroom, but it is our very democracy, our constitutional republic that hangs in the balance. Because, Sean, as the speaker just said, if they are successful in their attempt to take out the lead candidate for president of the United States with these communist tactics, what kind of country is this going to be? It is terrifying. As an American, it is terrifying. As a daughter-in-law, it is terrifying. This is not how this country was designed to work.
So so what happens? So what happens next? Where are we now? Where are we in the timeline, okay, of America right now? You have a vicious group of Marxists who don't believe in America, believe America was founded incorrectly, believe in a new American founding. Go read their writings. We do. They believe in a new America founding. They don't like the America, the way it was founded. America has way too many freedoms, way too many rights. Your firearm rights, your speech rights, all of it is and should be illegal. And that we need to get rid of that system. And probably the easiest way to get rid of that system is to violate that system. To begin the process of using that system against itself, the destruction of people who stand up to them, the destruction of Donald Trump, the violation of people's First Amendment rights, the violation of people's Second Amendment rights. And how does tyranny begin? Jordan Peterson has a great quote on this. Tyranny begins, fascism begins by people just moving, encroaching on you, moving in. And they'll move in until you say stop. They'll move in until you say no more. And until, God help us, we push back, right? And the nature of the fascist, the nature of demon, the nature of evil on earth, right, is to continue to encroach and to continue to defile and to continue to oppress until they are stopped. You must stop them. We must stop them. This is what 2024 is all about. The election of 2024 is about stopping them. And we have a bead on it. We are like animals on this thing now. Okay? We see it clearly. This is our moment. This is our stopping point. We believe there's a lot of energy on our side. Jim Jordan saying this judge is conflicted. Many on our program, Kash Patel, Mike Davis, have been saying, where are the subpoenas? Like, come after these guys. You could shut down Jack Smith tomorrow. Here's Jim Jordan.
Definitely is. You got a partisan Democrat prosecuting the case. You got a partisan judge overseeing the case. The partisan judge's daughter worked for Adam Schiff. She's obviously partisan. And then, of course, there's a gag order on the former president of the United States, the guy I believe is going to be the next president of the United States. There's a gag order on him, but Michael Cohen, the convicted perjurer, the guy who lied 6 times in front of Congress when he came and testified, he's allowed to say whatever he wants. He's allowed to go on TikTok and social media and spout off whatever he wants, and that's their star witness. The country is laughing at this case, and it's why President Trump's numbers, I think in the latest Rasmussen poll, he's up like 10% in the national poll. That's because the country sees through it all. They see through what Jack Smith is doing. They see through what Alvin Bragg is doing. And they've a long time ago seen through what Fani Willis is doing in Georgia. That's the real conspiracy. Jack Smith, Alvin Bragg, Fani Willis looking to conspire to impact the 2024 presidential election.
So how would you impact the 2024 presidential election? How would you set a plan in place to ensure that Donald Trump cannot run? Or if Donald Trump runs, that he is under massive federal prosecution? Well, you have to hatch a plan ahead of time. And that plan was allegedly to plant, tamper with, and aggressively defy data and evidence at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago. That was allegedly the plan. So now we are watching this play out in real time. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the reporting from Julie Kelly, who will be joining the program in just a moment. But Julie Kelly, who's done such excellent work on this, talking about how they doctored a crime scene at Trump's residence. Here we go. This is the meat and potatoes of all of this. And we have been covering this for the better part of 2 weeks. We've been saying none of it adds up. Wait a second. Hold on. We talked with Kash Patel about this all day yesterday. Like, we did 30 minutes with Kash Patel on this, like, one question. If the government had all the documents, then how'd all the classified materials get in those documents? The government, we have in the emails, the government shoving those documents into Mar-a-Lago. But it gets even worse. So wait, hold on. The government has all the documents. They demand Trump take them. Then they raid Trump for the illegal documents. They're the ones who gave them to Trump. Are you a Dave Chappelle fan? I am certainly a Dave Chappelle fan. Vintage Dave Chappelle. Very old Dave Chappelle skit about these two cops that sprinkled crack on the guy that they just knocked out, right? So they knock an innocent man out, they sprinkle some crack on him, and then they're able to lock him up. Okay? Knock him out, sprinkle crack on him, lock him up. Okay, it's a hilarious Dave Chappelle skit. It's not about Hunter Biden, shockingly. And it is about planting. The joke is that, these corrupt cops planted evidence. Here it is in real life. Let's read. The DOJ's doctored crime scene photos of Mar-a-Lago. New disclosures from special counsel Jack Smith's espionage case against Donald Trump reveal the FBI tampered with evidence to create the infamous photo. DOJ has lied about it for nearly 2 years. Reading from Julie Kelly's Declassified Live. It is this picture that launched 1,000 pearl-clutching articles. This is, of course, the picture of all of the documents strewn out over the floor of Mar-a-Lago. Ladies and gentlemen, a few weeks after the armed FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago in August 2022, the Department of Justice released a stunning photograph depicting alleged contraband seized from Trump's Palm Beach estate that day. The image showed colored sheets representing scary classification levels and files purportedly discovered in Trump's private office, included as a government exhibit to expose Trump's lawsuit requesting a special master to vet the 13,000 items taken from the residence. The crime scene pic immediately went viral, just as Attorney General Merrick Garland, who authorized the unprecedented raid, intended. At the time, even regime-friendly mouthpieces questioned the need and optics of the raid. The photo helped juice the DOJ's justification for storming Trump's castle. Some of the press were hyperbolic. An ex-CIA officer told ABC News that the cover sheets indicated the highest level of secrecy and in the wrong hands could have resulted in murder. People's lives are truly at stake. Without being melodramatic, anything that helps an adversary identify human sources means life and death. However, Julie Kelly has now exposed that this is not what happened. In fact, Donald Trump didn't have all these classified markings and folios and evidence strewn around his office. Check this out. New court filings in Jack Smith's special counsel Jack Smith's espionage and obstruction case against Trump and two co-defendants conclusively demonstrate that the government used cover sheets to deceive the public as well as the court. The photo was a stunt, and one that adds more fuel to the dumpster fire case. Jay Bratt, who was the lead DOJ prosecutor in the investigation at the time, is now assigned to Jack Smith's team, described the photo this way on August 30th, 2022, in response to Trump's special counsel master lawsuit. 13 boxes and containers contain documents with classified markings. In all, over 100 unique documents with classification markings were seized. Certain of the documents had colored cover sheets indicating their classification status. Okay? The DOJ's clever wordsmithing, however, did not accurately describe the origin of the cover sheets. In what must be considered not only an act of doctoring evidence, but willful misleading of the American people into believing the former president had a criminal and threat to national security, agents involved in the raid attached the cover sheets to at least 7 files in the photo. You can see the photo here. They attached the cover sheets themselves. Classified cover sheets were not recovered in the container. contrary to Bratt's declaration to the court. In fact, after being busted recently by defense attorneys for mishandling evidence in the case, Bratt had to fess up about how the cover sheets actually ended up in the documents. So Bratt has now changed his story. He has now attacked, manipulated, and threatened Trump prosecutors. And this dumpster fire, it's a tire fire inside of a wastewater treatment plant that's on fire. This case is imploding. They are lying to the court. They are lying about where they found the documents, how they found the documents, what documents they found. They are now tampering with and attaching new evidence to these documents. How does this case remain? How does Jack Smith not go to prison for this? This is clearly, fundamentally, demonstrably illegal. You cannot do this. This is why the Dave Chappelle skit about sprinkling crack on the innocent subject is funny, because we all know it's illegal. How do these people actually stay out of jail? Not Donald Trump. How does Jack Smith stay out of jail? Well, ladies and gentlemen, joining us now, the author of this piece, and somebody who's followed this from the get, somebody who knows exactly what is going on here, and who can really cut through this story like a knife, hot knife through butter. Julie Kelly joins the show live. How do they get away with not going to prison for this? How do they do it? We have a lot to cover. We have some other clips. We have some other tweets. But like, we have all of your evidence lined up. So feel free to just talk. Or, you know, we have it all lined up for you. But like, how do you stop from going to prison for this?
I don't know. And I'll tell you what, Benny, there's even more breaking news this morning since I posted that piece that you read. Thank you so much on Declassified Live, which is more filings and responses by Donald Trump and the defense team outlining this huge revelation filed Friday night by Jack Smith that admits that they've tampered with evidence, that they have misplaced evidence, it seems like. And of course, as I wrote, they brought these cover sheets to the Mar-a-Lago raid for the sole purpose, they say, as placeholders for the classified files that they found, but for the sole purpose also of creating that stunt photo of the crime scene to make it appear that that is how the documents were found in those boxes. That simply is just one more lie, misrepresentation, not just to the public, but to Judge Cannon as well. So we should have some more interesting developments this week. Last night, Judge Cannon put a hold on a very important hearing related to what classified material the defense was going to present at trial. She has put a hold on that deadline, and I suspect that she is right now preparing a blistering order about this case to Jack Smith, the recent revelations about mishandling evidence, and continuing to put this case towards trial, despite what we now know, prosecutorial abuse, tampering and doctoring evidence, and withholding it, all of this information from the defense.
So there are a couple of major issues that have come to light over the last 24 hours. One of them you tweeted about, which is Jay Bratt effectively lying and saying that they have no idea which documents were in which boxes. That effectively they dumped them on the ground and they're not sure which boxes were where. And this is, of course, important because the government was in control of all these boxes, right? Like, am I tracing that like that series of events correctly? So the government says, Donald Trump, we have all these boxes at the GSA. You got to take them. The so the government's shoving classified documents into Mar-a-Lago and then raiding Mar-a-Lago for the documents they put there.
Well, what's even more fascinating, and I think this is something that really has irked Judge Cannon from the beginning, the boxes that were taken out of Mar-a-Lago, about between 30 and 34 boxes, they were taken to the Miami FBI field office and then flown to Washington, where they were then housed at the hopelessly corrupt, compromised Washington FBI field office that at the time was being run by Stephen D'Antuono, fresh off of concocting the Whitmer Fednapping hoax in Detroit. So now these documents, these boxes, are in the hands of people we know have used the Washington FBI field office for years to go after Donald Trump, his associates, his family members, and of course now his voters. So this is where the documents were stored. What is amazing is the revelation, the confession by Jack Smith that no, they did not keep the contents of these boxes in the order in which they were found. Now, this is huge because you're not supposed to mess with evidence, right, Benny?
Yes.
And what Trump's past lawyer has said is the sequence of the items, the papers that were in these boxes were important to the defense because what it's supposed to demonstrate is how all these papers were in chronological order, that Trump didn't touch them, that they weren't moving them around, that that's how they were stored and filed and then sent to transported to Mar-a-Lago. So that's just, and then Benny, amazingly, I think this is the biggest scandal. The alleged placeholders, the classified cover sheets that we saw in that photo, they used those as placeholders of where they found the classified document within the box. Jay Brett and Jack Smith just admitted that some of the cover sheets that they put as placeholders don't match up with the classified document that they took out of the box and then put into classified as secure location. How, and this is the defense's argument, how are we supposed to tell you what classified documents we're going to take to trial when we don't even know where some of them are? I mean, this is imploding in so many different ways. And I think we'll get more bombshell revelations this week.
What a clown show. I mean, it does seem like they have, much like the Fannie Willis case, that there's almost more fruitful avenue to go after the prosecutors here for their malfeasance than there is to go after Donald Trump or the targets of the prosecutors. I mean, again, like how are you even able to like photograph these documents? Like who authorized the release of these photographs? Who throws classified documents onto the floor?
Right.
Who like splatters them all over the floor? I mean, if these are what they all claimed them to be, the nuclear codes, you're going to just toss them on the ground? Like none of it stands to any reason. None of it makes any sense other than a years-long setup to do this to Trump on his way out.
Well, and like I say in my piece, who were the FBI agents who on site were making assessments related to the classification level of these files? I mean, were they intelligence experts? I assume that they had some level of security clearance, but how did they know to put that certain cover sheet on a certain file, paper clipped in exact same spot as you see now when you review the photo once again? How did they know that that was the accurate assessment? And furthermore, Jay Brett and Jack Smith later said that they were presumed classified and that the materials were then going to undergo a separate classification review by the intelligence community. So they could have misrepresented the FBI field agents who were at the Mar-a-Lago raid saying, well, this is top secret. This is human intel, putting the scary cover sheet on there. But we have no way of knowing if that's accurate. If the intelligence community backed up that on-site quick assessment, but the FBI doesn't care because they got what they wanted, which is that photo that shocked everyone into believing that that's how the records were found. Donald Trump knew that he had them, and that's why he was going to be charged with espionage and obstruction of justice.
So let me just rewind the clock here. The GSA, so the government had these boxes. Jack Smith's trying to hide the fact that the government had all these boxes in their possession. They shoved them into Mar-a-Lago. The FBI demanded that Donald Trump take all of them. That they misplaced and mishandled all the evidence inside of those boxes and misordered them, which would be tampering with evidence. Then they attached incorrect cover sheets for classification this is not how they were found. They attached these files to make it look more salacious in order to effectively tamper with the entire case, to bend the case. And then they lied to Judge Cannon. How does Judge Cannon continue to allow this case to move forward, given all of this evidence? I mean, I'm no legal expert, but you are able to see stuff like, I don't know, OJ. You're able to see like some of these cases hang on the thinnest possible margins of evidence. And if anybody's found tampering with evidence, then the whole thing blows up, right?
That's right. And rewind the clock. This is why Judge Aileen Cannon in September of 2022 appointed a third party to go through all the evidence that had been seized from Mar-a-Lago. This was an extraordinary step that she took so much heat for. But she was absolutely right, because what she said in September of 2022, I don't trust the Department of Justice to handle this evidence properly. You've already leaked information to the media. We already know, and this is something that Jack Smith and Jay Bratt just admitted to again, we already know that privileged materials were passed from what they call the filter team to the investigative team. Investigative team meaning these were the agents who were looking at personal files, attorney-client privilege files that was not supposed to be passed to them. So that's why she appointed that special master. And unfortunately, the 11th Circuit appealed her order. They really look like the bad guys now because they wanted to help protect this investigation. And so that's just, Judge Cannon has a long history in this. She's not new to Jay Bratt's and DOJ's machinations behind the scenes, this dirty case. And so that's why she has been on this unsealing and unredaction, as we've talked about, kind of crusade. So the American people can see exactly how corrupt and dirty this is. But even I couldn't have imagined that they would be this irresponsible, this reckless, this corrupt to tamper with evidence central to this case. And then on the same token, be so arrogant about it and tell the defense attorneys, it doesn't matter that we moved these boxes around. It doesn't matter if the placeholder isn't exactly where we said it was in an FBI evidence index. We just told you that the classified documents was somewhere in this box, and that's all that matters. The arrogance of this team also is what continues to get them in trouble in Judge Cannon's courtroom.
So is it 100% accurate to say that the federal government tampered with evidence, that it potentially planted this evidence?
Well, going back to your point, Benny, and I think that this is important. There were boxes that were transported to Mar-a-Lago after Donald Trump left office. Then, to your point, the boxes that were kept at the GSA, General Services Administration, that is the agency that handles presidential transitions. So they had upwards of 100 boxes stored at a Virginia facility. And then after the 6-month transition period was over, they told Donald Trump's team, we have to get these boxes out of here. So then in September of 2021, they transported 2 pallets worth of boxes to Mar-a-Lago that were then loaded into the storage rooms at Mar-a-Lago. Now, the problem is the chain of custody, right? So if the boxes that, first of all, they sent to NARA voluntarily contained classified markings, if they came from the GSA, how is Donald Trump responsible for that? And more egregiously, if these were some of the boxes that the FBI seized during the raid in August of 2022 that were housed by the GSA, that the GSA oversaw and managed until they were transported, then how is Donald Trump willfully retaining classified or national defense information when these boxes were held at a government facility, transported, no evidence that they were even opened or Donald Trump ever looked at them, which he probably didn't? So how can he then be charged with espionage for willfully retaining national defense information from boxes that were not even in his custody for at least 7 months? So I think that's going to be another wrinkle to this whole scandal.
Finally, Julie, Kash Patel was on our program yesterday, and Kash Patel was, of course, Donald Trump's emissary with NARA, right? So he knows it better than almost anyone. And Kash says, no, Jack Smith needs to be arrested for this. Like based on your reporting and based on what we've seen out of the court, like it's Jack Smith who should probably be facing criminal trial. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think at some point he definitely should be investigated and charged, at the very least, prosecutorial abuse and selective vindictive prosecution. So should Jay Bratt. Keep in mind, Jay Bratt, who is the top DOJ official, led the investigation. We now know that he had meetings in the White House in 2021 with the associate of then Chief of Staff Ron Klain, probably Ron Klain himself. Why is the head of DOJ's counter-espionage unit meeting in the White House before any of this, the case really took off after Trump turned over those boxes, I'm sure that Kash talked about, in January of 2022. Jay Bratt has already been accused of prosecutorial abuse for threatening Walt Nauta, Trump's co-defendant, his attorney, with jeopardizing or pulling a judicial nomination pending in Washington, D.C. for the Superior Court if he did not successfully get Walt Nauta, one of Trump's closest personal aides, to flip on Trump and become a government witness. These people, when Donald Trump calls them thugs, he's actually probably being too kind.
Yeah. Producer Alexis saying that Cash said Judge Cannon should hold Jack Smith in contempt. Which would be quite interesting, given the amount of contempts that Donald Trump is facing in New York, to have Jack Smith being held in contempt. Also, as Jack Smith has been reversed by the Supreme Court, 9-0, the guy doesn't have a great record. Not operating from a position of strength.
Exactly right. I wouldn't be surprised if Judge Cannon, as I said, I will be standing by watching for her order related to the stay that she put on this very important hearing that was supposed to take place this week. I will wait for that order, and I would not be surprised. Look, she is no fan of Jay Bratt at all, and she's made that very clear. She kind of upbraided him at a hearing last week and told him not to say something sarcastic, and he said, "Oh, I would never do that." So there is no love lost between the two, and she is sick and tired of watching the dirty tricks behind the scenes and letting Jay Bratt and Jack Smith get away with it. So Cash is right. She very well could seek some sort of contempt of court for intentionally misleading, telling Judge Cannon last month that those boxes were in their original condition, and now coming back a few weeks later and admitting that was a lie.
Wow. Well, okay. Here's hoping. If you want the updates, and you want them fast, and you want to know actually about this case and how the sausage is being made, and how these people are Fargo level grinding themselves up in the sausage maker out of their own ignorance and stupidity, you got to follow Declassified Live. Julie Kelly, she is the best. Thank you so much for joining the program, Julie.
Thanks, Benny. Thanks for having me on.
Not just Julie Kelly. You gotta follow Julie in her work. But it's not just Julie Kelly saying this. This is really important. Julie Kelly is always the tip of the spear. She's the first person always to break news on this. Jim Jordan, last night, saying that Jack Smith is straight up tampering with evidence, mishandling documents. Here's Jim Jordan.
Yeah, the order of the documents seized was changed. That one sentence says it all. Most people would call that tampering with evidence. The physical documents didn't match up with the scanned documents. And here's the irony, Sean. This is Jack Smith mishandling the very documents that he's charging President Trump with mishandling. Go figure. I mean, that to me is the ultimate irony here. Not to mention, of course, the double standard. We had Robert Hur 6 weeks ago in front of our committee. Robert Hur said Joe Biden met the elements of the crime. He knowingly disclosed classified information. But he wasn't charged because he says he was a forgetful old man. And we also established motive. Robert Hur said on page 231 of his report, Joe Biden had strong motivations for ignoring classified procedures because he was writing a book for which he got paid $8 million. So he had an $8 million motive. He met the elements, but he doesn't get charged. President Trump does. And then Jack Smith mishandles the very documents. You can't make this stuff up.
Well, Jim Jordan, you are in charge of the judiciary. Why don't you defund Jack Smith? Why don't you investigate Jack Smith? Jim Jordan could call Jack Smith into Congress tomorrow. He could subpoena Jack Smith right now. Jim Jordan, subpoena Jack Smith. Do it. Ask him these questions. And on Fox News, just bring him into Congress, right? John Ratcliffe, former member of Congress, was the director of national intelligence for Donald Trump. Very smart man. Obviously was able to be Senate approved. Director of national intelligence. This guy is like in charge of the CIA, the FBI. He's in charge of the NSA, of all of the intelligence arms of the federal government. John Ratcliffe, of all people, should know what is a staged crime scene. And he says, this is a staged crime scene. Watch.
In terms of the classified documents case, I remember the infamous picture that the FBI took of all those classified documents that they said that they took from Mar-a-Lago. Specifically, tell me about what you're saying, that what evidence was tampered with. And did the FBI tamper with this?
Yeah, so that famous photograph, what we have now learned, and the government has had Jack Smith and his prosecutors have had to admit is that was staged, and those top secret classified sheets that all the public saw and said, oh my God, look at those top secret documents, those were placed there by the FBI. And what Jack Smith admitted in court this week was that, in his words, they mishandled the classified documents and misrepresented those to the court. Maria, that's a kind way of saying we tampered with the evidence and then we lied to the court about it. And they got caught when President Trump's lawyers and the other co-defendants raised this issue and said, look, the documents here don't match up. The documents that were presented to us don't match the digitally scanned records of when they were taken from Mar-a-Lago. And Jack Smith, not only did they tamper with that and lie to the court about it, but he's now admitted to the court that he doesn't know how that happened. He's only offered a number of possible explanations for how that could have happened.
How could it have happened? Well, it's obvious how this all happens. This happens because you're trying to lie to the American people. This happens because of the Bob McDonnell case. We keep coming back to it. I know it happened a long time ago, but it's really instructive here. The Bob McDonnell case, maybe you're from Virginia. Maybe you remember Bob McDonnell. Bob McDonnell was a Virginia governor. He was really popular. He was really powerful. He had a lot of rich friends, and he was ready to run for president against Barack Obama in 2012. Jack Smith, of all people, were the ones who directly went after Bob McDonnell in a corruption case. They were able to get charged. They were able to impanel a grand jury. They were able to go after him. And they were reversed 9-0 at the Supreme Court. Why? Because they weren't able to establish. Jack Smith was never able to establish what an official act is. It's the exact same thing. Presidential immunity. It's the same play. It's the same thing. It's happening again. And what was the goal? The goal was never, I think, to put Bob McDonnell in prison for the rest of his life. I think they would have been okay with that, but they knew they were never going to get that. The goal was to destroy Bob McDonnell's political career so that he wasn't a threat to their man, Barack Obama. This is something that happened while Donald Trump was doing weddings with Hillary Clinton. Like, this was happening before Donald Trump. Donald Trump was just a sparkle in the eye, right? They have already used the same playbook. John Ratcliffe, the director of national intelligence, saying this case will be dismissed. Wow. I mean, he went farther than even Julie Kelly went. Ratcliffe saying, nope, they're going to throw it out. Watch.
He has a lead prosecutor in this case, Jay Bratt, who met with White House counsel and a representative of the National Archives several times in the weeks before Jack Smith was even appointed.
Wow.
Maria, this reeks of crossfire hurricane when the Obama-Biden administration fabricated evidence before the FISA court, lied to the court about it, to pursue Donald Trump, and now we're seeing it again in this classified documents case. The judge could dismiss this case at any point in time, Maria. I think the only reason that she hasn't is she wants to document this publicly so that the public can see just how this case is being prosecuted, how unfairly Donald Trump has been persecuted in this matter by Joe Biden's Department of Justice.
Throw it out. That's what he's saying. Maybe this guy will be the next director of national intelligence. I mean, I think he did a fine job with Donald Trump. Everybody speaks very highly of John Ratcliffe. And here's John Ratcliffe saying this needs to be thrown out and destroyed. In 6 months, John Ratcliffe may well be the next director of national intelligence. I mean, he's already Senate confirmed. So maybe just make that guy DNI again. I don't know. I mean, Kash Patel yesterday was talking about how great John Ratcliffe is. John Ratcliffe is saying this was staged they were staging evidence, they're planting evidence, tampering with evidence, and the entire case needs to be dismissed. And then there needs to be penalties for Jack Smith on this. It'd be nice to stop all of this charade before you get to the Bob McDonnell stage where it has to be reversed 9-0 at the Supreme Court. Kash Patel was on the show yesterday. He didn't mince words when it came to his thoughts on Jack Smith. Here we go.
Jack Smith has just been exposed by Judge Cannon of doing what? Lying to a federal court. These guys keep doing it. The judge just unsealed documents in the Jack Smith case down in Florida, which says the prosecutors themselves have admitted to tampering with evidence, to moving the very boxes from one location outside of D.C. to South Florida before they ever even charged Donald Trump. How in the world can you not be prosecuting and charging these constitutional gangsters that are at DOJ? And they learn it from the same place, the top down, the same AGs, the same DAGs, the same FBI directors who are cheering him on. I hope Judge Cannon, he's an actual fun legal thing that should actually be occurring. Judge Cannon should be implementing actual contempt proceedings against Jack Smith and the Department of Justice for lying to a federal judge and withholding evidence of exclusion and innocence from Donald Trump. Those contempt proceedings would be righteous, and I'd like to see those. Maybe we could put Jack Smith in prison.
Ha! Wow. We need to make a new meme. Me just listening to like the straight, hot, molten lava dish of our guests and going, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody who I say wow to a lot on the internet, who I deeply respect, Elon Musk. Elon Musk responded to Julie's reporting here, saying concerning. He was actually responding to producer ALX's post that shared the Julie Kelly link there. DOJ's doctored crime scene photos at Mar-a-Lago. Elon Musk says concerning. Will they ever be stopped? Yeah. The moment to stop them is the 2024 election. Can you say no more to the tyrants? Can you say halt? Can you put up a fight? Can you actually have like a Helm's Deep moment, right? Where like the orcs are all at the door, if you're a Tolkien fan. Orcs are at the door. They're storming the castle. Can you actually ride to ruin? Can you put a stop in this? Yes, you can. Can you actually have Gandalf coming over the mountainside? Yeah, you can. All right? It's not Gandalf the white. It's Gandalf the orange. It's Donald Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why they are so angry about Donald Trump is because Donald Trump is, I think you could definitely argue in our political landscape, the only person who could have stopped them. The only person who can stop them right now. There's a lot of great Republicans out there. And I'm friends with a lot of a ton of Republicans that ran for president in 2024, been on the show, friends of the show. I don't got problems with virtually any of them. I got problems with Chris Christie, okay? And we ain't inviting Bird Brain on the show anytime soon. But I'll tell you this, I think we have a great slate of young talent moving forward. But the only man who could beat Joe Biden is Donald Trump. And the only man who could actually put together a coalition that you're seeing across the country where young people are voting Trump. Latinos are swinging Trump. Black people are swinging Trump. Okay? Joe Biden has 0 positive polling numbers. The only man who could truly do that is Donald Trump. And he's the biggest threat. This is why Jen Psaki, of all people, is on TV. ALX sent me this clip live during the show. Apparently, it's from moments ago. Jen Psaki on TV talking about the death of Donald Trump. Now, how long is it? Okay, okay, the death of Donald Trump. Here we go. Jen Psaki, this is the spokesperson for Joe Biden for the last couple of years. So this is the voice of Joe Biden, arguably. All right, the voice of Joe Biden saying, "Hey, maybe Trump will just die. Maybe that'll help. We could fix that. Trump will just die." This is what they have resorted to. We've been telling you this is a psychosexual fantasy that these people have for a long time, and I hate being proven right on this, but here we are, ladies and gentlemen.
I think many of them want to be close to power. They also assume or have this thought in their mind that maybe Donald Trump will go away. Maybe he'll go to jail. Maybe he will die, not to be too morbid, but maybe, he's not a young man.
Yeah, maybe he'll just die, right? He'll just die. It's not worth going and hunting it down, but there have been obviously death. There have been in case you're wondering who the party of death is, it's obviously the party that wants abortion up to and after the point of birth. If you're wondering who the party of death is, it's the party who've welcomed thousands of people on the terrorist watch list into our country with a red carpet. If you're wondering who the party of death is, it's the party that's fomenting multiple wars across the world right now. When you had world peace with Donald Trump clapping Kim Jong-un on the back and walking into North Korea. If you're wondering who the party of death is, it's the party that has, of course, had psychosexual fantasies about Donald Trump dying from even before Donald Trump was elected. Donald Trump had his head cut off in a photo op. Kathy Griffin, they barely even condemned her. Kathy Griffin's back out doing tours, making jokes about this, making jokes about it. Nothing happens. The day, and I'm telling anybody who's clipping this show, I am simply paraphrasing Madonna. Okay, I am not calling for the White House to be blown up. I am paraphrasing a live speech that was given to thousands of pussy hat wearing women outside the White House, where Madonna, the day of Donald Trump's inauguration, the day of Donald Trump hadn't been president for 24 hours, and Madonna says, I fantasize about blowing up the White House. I too dream about blowing up the White House with Donald Trump inside. This is the same party that wishes to take away Donald Trump's Secret Service if he goes to prison. So put Donald Trump out in the general prison population and watch what happens. This is that party. They are a party of death. They're truly monsters. We have political enemies on the show, but I wish nobody harm. I mean that. I wish nobody harm. I wish a lot of people prosecution and justice before the law and long, long sentences in Guantanamo Bay. But I do not wish harm on people, okay? But they do. And that's the difference. That's why we call them Marxists. That's why we call them Stalinists. These people are they are violent people, and it is deeply, deeply dangerous times out there. So keep your head on swivel. This is what they want to do to Donald Trump. We've been telegraphing it for months now. We've been seeing the signs. We've asked Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones live about assassination attempts on Donald Trump. What will happen next? Well, there's the mouth of Sauron, as Klein said. Jen Psaki. The mouth of Sauron. Saying, oh, maybe he'll just die. Huh? Maybe he'll just die. They're so angry because everything is failing against Donald Trump. Is Donald Trump like a figure that has some type of like deep, resonant, spiritual arc, right? Redemption arc here? Like, is there going to be a revival? I don't know. I'm not sure. But I do tell you, I can tell you this. I've never seen anybody get younger, facing 91 different felony counts. I've never seen the people who are coming after Trump be dumber. It's actually like these people are just so stupid. We just talked about it with the documents case, but let's move over to Fulton County, Georgia. They're just dumb, okay? Georgia Senate panel ready to subpoena Fani Willis in probe of her conduct in Trump racketeering case. Fani Willis should have recused herself among many, many things that she did. She admitted to campaign finance violations on the stand. She admitted to fraudulence before the court. She admitted to lying before the court. She admitted to defrauding the taxpayers. She lied about going to the White House and having meetings at the White House. That's just off the top of my head. These are just like little memories that I have. The list is 14 times longer. Nonetheless, the Georgia Senate is now saying that they are going to call in to testify Fani Willis. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis said Monday that she will not testify before Georgia Senate committee investigating her of accusations of misconduct while pursuing felony racketeering case against Donald Trump. Ooh, baby. Careful. Careful. On Monday, Willis announced that she will not be appearing before the investigative panel. In response, the committee chairman, Bill Calsert, a Republican, stating last week that Fulton County DA will be subpoenaed if she refuses to voluntarily testify. Willis cannot be sanctioned by the Senate committee, but can issue subpoenas for her to turn over evidence and testify under oath. Former Governor Roy Barnes, who declined Willis's offer to serve as special counsel prosecutor in 2021 in the case set against Trump. On Monday, Willis questioned whether a special committee had the legal authority to compel her to testify. Ooh, baby. This is going to be interesting. So Fani Willis, who's already like in hot water, she has multiple Republican and Democrat opponents. She's not showing up for debates. The guy debated in an empty stadium. And now Fani Willis is refusing to testify. So here we go. Things are heating up in Georgia just in time for the summer.
Will you appear before a Georgia Senate committee without a subpoena?
Well, first of all, I don't even think they have the authority to subpoena me, but they need to learn the law.
So will you appear, yes or no?
I will not appear to anything that is unlawful. And I have not broken the law in any way. I said it, I'll say it amongst these leaders. I'm sorry folks get pissed off that everybody gets treated evenly.
All right. I think she answered that very well.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see what actually happens. Let's see what happens. We've covered in Georgia, and I know that Georgia has Republican leadership. I think that leadership is extremely weak. But there is a brand new committee that has now been impaneled in order to look into the prosecutors and their conduct and gives the governor the power to remove prosecutors. That has happened here in the state of Florida. we border the state of Georgia. And the state of Florida, Ron DeSantis has removed multiple Soros prosecutors from their positions in this state. They have appealed in the courts, and they have lost. And so we hope for that, obviously, in the state of Georgia, and we will continue to follow that case, of course, very, very closely. Last month, I feel like we were live. We did 30 straight days of Big Fanny coverage. It was a wall-to-wall affair. It wasn't a fair, wasn't it? Republicans to hold Merrick Garland in contempt over audio of Biden interview with Robert Hur. What is going on here? The House Judiciary Committee is aiming to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress for refusing to provide audio recordings of Joe Biden's interview with special counsel who investigated the handling of classified documents. Republican-led committee is planning to hold a meeting to review the contempt report and to hold a committee vote. They've already been able to hold in contempt Hunter Biden, and the Democrats held in contempt Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro. And am I correct, ALX? Peter Navarro went to jail. Peter Navarro is in jail right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know there's a lot of appeals going on here. But Peter Navarro is in prison for a contempt of Congress charge. Now, of course, if you were to hold Hunter Biden in contempt, or if you were to hold Merrick Garland in contempt, it would go to his DOJ in order to put him in jail. So the chance of that happening, I don't think very high. However, ladies and gentlemen, not a good look. It's nice to see somebody doing something here. It's nice to see some motion somewhere. Hur found in his investigation that Biden mishandled classified documents from his time as vice president. But they let him off, of course, because Joe Biden always gets off the hook. Why? Because I would argue that the Biden family have been very, very useful assets for the intel community. Seems to run everything in this country, and they are getting rewarded by very light touch prosecutions here. How can you say that Donald Trump, who was president, isn't allowed to handle classified documents, and Joe Biden, who was not president, right? Joe Biden, who's the resident of the White House right now, but when he had all these classified documents, was never president. The classified documents were stolen during his time in the Senate and during his time as vice president. How can you say that that was legal? The argument was that he has dementia. That's what they landed on. That he has dementia. He can't remember the death of his own son. Can't remember when he was vice president. Doesn't remember the documents. And that no rational juror would say that this dementia-addled, broken individual would be able to operate with actual malice. That's the argument. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will see. But we will stay faithful in our pursuit of truth, and we will always share the truth with you. Our verse of the day today, ladies and gentlemen, from Galatians. Let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap the harvest of blessing if we do not give up. Do not give up. It was a pretty depressing last couple of years as you watched these charges and these cases get filed against Donald Trump, and many people who are evil thought they had the victory. We do not give up. We push forward. We seek truth. We call upon our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, to save this country, to save us. And we remain faithful, ladies and gentlemen. That's all that is asked of us. Speak the truth. Fight on. Keep going. Do not be brought low. That is what the evil one wants. Do not be brought low. Remember, that's all. That is always the test. The first temptation of Christ from Satan, right? Just worship me. Just worship me. Just bow down and worship me. Be brought low, and I'll give you all the kingdoms of the world. And Christ said no. We say no, ladies and gentlemen, and we march forward to victory. It's your boy Benny, marching alongside you. See ya.